Yeah! It's been Here we go. Here we go again. It's another episode of Blathercast. Two dudes who've known each other a long time. Just talking. I'm John.
I'm Jim. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. You sound fantastic this morning. How about me?
You sound great.
Thank you. Yeah, we had some sound issues last week, and the whole episode was ruined. And we were actually in the same city the weekend before, so we didn't do a show. We hung out instead.
You know, you think that we would have totally recorded that if we were together, you know?
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Yep. Oh, wow. I mean, were you feeling up to it? I wasn't.
I was not.
Yeah. So, there you go.
I wasn't up to being up.
Yeah, so last week we talked about Captain Marvel, and I said I liked it. I give it 2 thumbs up. Well, a thumb and a half, maybe.
Right on. Still haven't seen it.
And only because it was still just another superhero movie. Like, there's enough of these. They're not that different from each other.
That's true.
I liked that they really made Captain Marvel seem heroic. And she had a lot of perseverance and like self-determination and kind of self-ownership. There was some people complaining about it having too much of a feminist message. I didn't see it that way. I thought it was going to be that because Brie Larson had said some pretty dumb things in a interview prior to the movie release.
Yeah.
And, I went and saw it, and I just didn't feel that was the case. And I heard some of the other guys that, some of the commentators that I like listening to, and I get their point, and their points, I get it, and I get where they're coming from, and I get how they came to that conclusion, but I think it's very true in some cases that they're just shoehorning women and minorities in parts for just so that the movie studio can be like, see, we're inclusive, you know what I mean, or throwing changing major characters, and especially in comic books, they changed a bunch of characters, and it upsets some people. I mean, if you're somebody who's been reading a character for 25 years and then you replace them with somebody, and then the story that they do that isn't even good, you get upset, and then you get these goggles on that makes you see the world in a not so good way.
I could see that happening, but I think that this movie was just a little too big for them to, I don't know, gender virtue signal, I think it was a little too big for them to really shoehorn any of that. I think it had to be a genuine superhero movie,
Well, Captain Marvel's been a woman in the comics for
right, but
quite
I mean,
a while too.
Extolling the virtues of feminism or anything like that in the movie would be a huge missed opportunity. The character itself is a little too big for the MCU right now too. You saw the end of the Avengers: Infinity War, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the character's just too big to kind of screw around with,
Yeah, I guess it was a good movie though. Anyways, and I didn't see that. There was one spot where there was kind of mention that she was pissed off because she couldn't fly in combat because she was a woman, and she had to be a test pilot. And it's like, yeah, well, that was just the way things were then, and
Right.
you know, it's not the case now. So
Yeah.
you know, I don't. To me, that was like, and I didn't think that was a dig at anybody or a dig at anything. You know, if anything, it was a dig at the way things used to be. And you know what? Things, you know, they just get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so things weren't that great, and now they're better. So
Yeah, I haven't really read the comics, and I'm not sure if this was a comic that you were into, but Doctor Strange, the Ancient One, wasn't a woman in the comics, was it?
I have no idea.
I don't think it was. Although I do think, what's her name, nailed it. I think she was great in it.
I mean, they changed Marvel. Marvel was like a superhero type character in the who was the original Captain Marvel in the comic books, and they changed that to like an old woman, and she was like an engineer working on a ship on Earth. And that whole thing was like, some people were upset about that. And I'm like, yeah, but this, you know, for one, it's like, okay, you have the comic books, right? And then you have the movies. Maybe it's time people start looking at these as, you know, these comic book fans need to start looking at this as its own thing instead of trying to be like, oh, they ruined it. It's nothing like the comic.
Right.
You know, which they've taken a lot of storylines and cues from the comics. They've done a ton of fan service in these Marvel movies. So
For sure.
I think people should shut their mouths.
Yeah, I agree, because they're not comics, they're movies.
Right.
I mean, you got to take a different tact for these things.
And in the same way that a lot of the stuff in the Walking Dead show was similar to the comic, but a lot of stuff was completely different, it's like, I don't want to I don't necessarily want to watch something that I've read and seen, because comic books are also visual. So it's like, I don't need a panel by panel of the comic book, although they kind of did that with the Watchmen, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Watchmen was a different beast, though, as far as comics are concerned, you know?
Yeah, and most Watchmen fans hated that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I did too, and I thought it was I thought they did a good job taking that almost panel for panel.
I just watched it again like last week, I think. Maybe the week before.
Do you know the first couple times I watched it, I didn't even realize that guy was naked.
Really?
Yeah, it just didn't. And I saw it in the theater twice, and it's like, I didn't even notice the big 8-foot dong. I just didn't. It didn't dawn on me. Like, I wasn't paying attention. I guess I just don't pay attention to that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. I mean, I noticed, but it didn't really register. It wasn't that big a deal, you know?
Right. It's
I mean, not that I'm used to 8-foot dong or anything.
It's like that scene in this. Well, I did notice that because it was funny in the Simpsons movie when he loses his pants and like he goes through a bush, and then that's the only thing you can see.
Right. That was great.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That was funny.
So we watched Into the Spider-Verse again with my sons the other day, and I was like, man, this song is awesome. And I was like getting it on Google Play, you know, with the microphone and adding it to my library.
Sure.
So I really freaking dig that soundtrack. It is badass. It is a good. Of course, there's that Post Malone song, which I'm not really a big Post Malone fan.
Yeah, me either.
But that Sunflower song that and it was written just for this movie, I believe.
Right.
But that's that. So you saw Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah.
So it's the song that he's singing in you know, like he sings it a couple times in the movie. Once he's singing it when he's getting ready for school, right in the beginning, and then later on when he's getting he's nervous about something, and he like sings a song to kind of calm himself down.
Right. So good, this movie. A great soundtrack.
Oh,
they crushed it.
They did. It was a great movie. I love that they put like the this bit here, like on this picture that's in the background, the little dots.
Oh, right.
To make it look like, so they did that in the movie in quite a few spots to make it look like very old newsprint comic.
Yep.
It was, I don't know, they just did everything. The artwork, the animations, I think they really got into like sometimes what it feels like to be a teenager when you're like, oh, did anybody notice that? Right. Can they hear me? You know, like, I don't think I worried that much about that stuff. I mean, I know I did, but I probably thought about it more pre-high school. Once I got to high school, I had already kind of worked through that. You know what I mean? Mostly.
Well, like regular standard teenage type insecurities and stuff, I mean.
Yeah, I was like beyond trying to meet my peers' expectations at that point. You know what I mean? I just didn't care.
Yeah,
I think that's
a lot for me in 7th grade. I got over a ton of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely went through it, but I went through it pretty early and was pretty much over it. I mean, there was definitely some times that your emotions get the best of you. You know, you're a kid and they're kind of flying high, but. Yeah, it's I don't.
This movie being, I don't know, they nailed the comic book aspects of it. I also think they kind of really nailed all the different varying versions of Spider-Man in the comics. They kind of, I don't know, almost validated all the different types of Spider-Man that had been in the books lately. You know, kind of brought it all together. It was just a slam dunk, home run all around.
I did not like Spider-Gwen.
Oh, really? I thought she was great. In fact,
I did. The book.
Oh, I see. Before this movie was even a thing, I've been wanting to get into Spider-Gwen, only for the art. Like, I thought the art was crazy sharp on a lot of these comics.
Oh, it was crazy sharp on that. I got a bunch of other comics. So I'm done with comics. I canceled my pull bag this week.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Was that because our friend has bowed out of the business?
That's the case, yeah. So the guy I used to do a podcast with owned the store, and he's selling his part of the business, so I was down to like $3 a month, so it's not a big loss for him. But,
yeah. It's a hard business to be in, man.
Well, it's low. New books are super low margin.
Yeah.
Everybody, when you're in a city like out here, the guy who owns the store out here, he's got it kind of lucky because it's a college town, and he can just charge cover price for all his new books. In the city, you can't do that because somebody's offering a discount. If you don't offer a discount too, you're not
going to be able to stay competitive.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, his store was profitable. It was making money, but it wasn't. It's like, how long do you just do that and not? You know, how long do you do that, and like how much patience do you need to have it grow to where it's a business where you can be like, oh, I'm set now. Like, this is what I can do the rest of my life. Like, it wasn't
right.
It wasn't doing that well. And he probably would have been all right if he didn't have a business partner. You know, when you're splitting the profit with somebody, that probably has everything to do with it.
Right. Well, I wish him the best. I was actually a little concerned when he announced it. I was like, hope he lands.
He will. He will.
So out of comics, huh?
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm still thinking of going digital. I haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, that Marvel Unlimited is a great deal if you just want to catch up on some old stuff. Same with
exactly what I do.
Same with the DC one.
Yeah.
Although I I did the year because I got a great deal on the first year subscription to the DC thing that includes their video service and the comics and all that.
Oh, right.
And I don't know, it was for being a DC insider on something, because I'm a comic book fan, like I'm signed up to other stuff. So I got a great deal on the year. It was like $65 or something like that.
Well, that's pretty solid. That's what Marvel Unlimited is.
Yeah, but that's
they don't have a video service.
Video service, right?
And DC's got some pretty compelling content.
Yeah, it.
I'm not really a DC guy, but I do actually really dig the Batman and Superman animated movies.
The animated movies are great, and
they're excellent.
You get these same day as digital on the service. So,
that's pretty tight.
So, yeah, Reign of the Supermen was the last one I think that came out. It was pretty good. But like the other originals, I don't know. Titans was okay. I really didn't like how violent it was.
Oh yeah.
And not the violence necessarily, but how unheroic the violence was. Like, I didn't really like the characters, and none of them seemed like heroic, except for maybe Beast Boy and Raven. But Starfire and Robin, they're just too brutal. And Starfire killed like a lot of people. And I'm just like, these aren't heroes.
Right. I get that.
She went in to get something, and she was in a room, and she was investigating some stuff, but she just burned the whole room to a crisp. It's just like, that was a little unnecessary.
I don't know. Sometimes you gotta burn down a room. Can't really hold it against them. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. And so their Doom Patrol or whatever is the show on now, and I haven't checked it out yet. They're probably on episode 3 or 4 by this point.
Is that the live action?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty killer. I've been seeing a ton of ads around the web for it.
Doom Patrol?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't checked it out. I've been seeing a ton of ads for
Doom Patrol's got what's his name? Brendan Fraser in it?
Does it?
Is that right? Doesn't it? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I could have sworn that's who it was.
Could be. I haven't really paid that much attention. I haven't logged into my DC thing in a while. I got through all the Teen Titans on there because they had the movie, the show before Teen Titans Go, the old Teen Titans show.
Gotcha. Yeah, Brendan Fraser is Robot Man. I thought it was solid. Like, he hasn't been in anything in a while. It's kind of interesting to see him doing something.
So, more television. Have you seen that show, The Passage, on Fox?
No.
So, that's really good. And it's based on a book by Justin Cronin. Of the same name. And that's a pretty fantastic show. I like that. I really like the book, too, though. So...
Is it right on? I don't know. I'm reading the synopsis here, and I remember it being, it says a medical facility where scientists experiment with a dangerous virus that could lead to a cure for all disease, but could potentially wipe out the human race. Those things tend to turn me off. I can't stand viruses that could kill everyone type movies and shows.
It's a vampire show.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
See that I didn't know.
Yes, and the real thing isn't so. And the book is a slow burn. It's 3 books, and I listened to the audiobooks, and each one is like 20 some hours plus. And it's 3 of them. And I think they did a pretty good job televising the first. I think that's only the first part of the first book.
Right on.
So the book takes place over like a lot of years, and they kind of bring you to. They do a time jump at the end of the show, but it makes sense that they do. Like,
Sure.
but I don't know. It was a good.
That's pretty hip. I might check into that.
It was a
Like,
good show.
I'm not done with vampire stuff yet. They keep, running vampire things at different angles, different takes, and I don't know. I still kind of dig it.
Oh, it's a different take. It's definitely not. It's not True Blood, that's for sure.
Right. That was a fun ride. Even when I got kind of weird and campy towards the end, it was still kind of fun.
Yeah, and the ending was just as cheesy as the ending in the book.
Was it?
Yep. It wasn't as cheesy. Well, I don't know. It was cheesy. It was, both of them had like this, oh, and everyone lived happily ever after kind of
Right.
thing to them, which is all right. That's all right.
Hey,
okay
speaking of
that.
newish TV, did you ever watch OA on Netflix?
Yeah, the new season starts soon, right?
It started yesterday. It's one of the reasons I'm a little groggy this morning.
Ha! Did you watch the whole thing?
No, I just watched an episode, but episode and a half, something like that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like the OA.
The first season was a slow burn, but it was a compelling one, and I really like how they started this one. It's pretty solid.
Well, I can't wait to check that out. I knew it was coming back, and I don't know. It's so strange. I used to like all those shows. Netflix has put out so much garbage lately.
Yeah, they've been throwing a lot of things at the wall.
That it's just like, and some of the stuff that like gets renewed, I'm like, and I try to watch it, and I'm like, how do people watch this? This isn't good.
Some of it I'm still excited about. Travelers.
Travelers is good. I'm kind of losing interest after this last season.
A little. I think it was a bit slow and didn't really land. Pretty sure they greenlit another season. They could wrap it up and be done, and I'd be satisfied with in its entirety.
Yeah, the Marvel shows are done.
Dead. Yeah.
Which is okay because they were getting kind of eh.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Especially the Jessica Jones one. That second season was brutally boring.
There really was, yeah.
It was super boring.
I thought, even as slow as that second season ride was, like, that they'd, I don't know, ramp it up, do something a little more spectacular towards the end, but it didn't ever really materialize. I thought that Luke Cage season was pretty dumb, too. Although I do kind of like how it ended.
Really? I thought that was probably one of my favorite seasons out of all of them.
Really?
I loved the villain. He was such a badass. He met like he was a proper villain for Luke Cage.
Right. That was meant.
He was badass. I like the whole avenging his family angle. Like, I like that. I like that he had like a purpose that wasn't just like, oh, I'm just an evil, greedy guy.
Yeah, no, that was, the story itself was good. I think it had something to do with the production value. I just thought it was a little boring. I could be wrong in there. I thought the story itself was good, and I loved how it ended. Like, Luke Cage is kind of also villainish at the end,
Yeah. Well,
that was kind of the point, like, now he's running Harlem.
He's just human with some powers.
Right. Daredevil, I don't know. Daredevil, the series on Netflix, always seemed a bit of violence for the sake of violence. I'm not sure I ever really cared about the plot of it. And what was the other one? Iron Fist?
Yep.
Oddly, none of that story felt very coherent, but I still enjoyed Iron Fist, though.
I liked Iron Fist, and I liked The Punisher.
I haven't seen the second season of The Punisher yet. Did they all get canceled?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're going to end up on Disney's new streaming service.
Oh, I see.
Or at least something is.
Like this content move to it, or do you think they'll pick up the ball and keep running?
I don't know. It seems like they're going to maybe try new stuff, and they'll probably just be like, I don't know. I don't know what the MCU and their TV stuff is going to do. If I were them, I would do this Avengers Endgame thing to reset everything. And then I would start with all, because they got Fox now, right?
Yeah.
So I would have the person who gets the gauntlet, and I would make it somebody they just introduced. Maybe it's Captain Marvel. Maybe it's Doctor Strange. Somebody who's still got a few more movies left in their contract.
Sure.
I would make them wear the gauntlet, change everything, but it actually gets out of that universe into a new one. Or maybe have it be Spider-Man, because they could do a few more movies with him probably.
Right.
And to where that person stays the same, but everybody else is new.
Yeah, for sure. There's plenty enough characters to run that.
And then just tell new stories with the same characters but different actors. You can have them all be younger, because I mean, you want to see a 65-year-old Iron Man flying around,
Sorta. I do kind of like Robert Downey Jr.
I do too.
How about some of these other Marvel shows that are floating in the ether? Like, are you in the Legion on FX? I think it's on FX, right, or Fox?
Yeah, it's FX. So I liked the first season. I did not like the second season.
I'm still in the middle of the second season. I'm probably getting close to the end, actually. But
I think I ditched it about a third of the way through. I was like, this show's not that good anymore.
I don't know. I keep thinking that, but then it keeps pulling me back. Like each episode, it's like, I don't know. I do still kind of like it. I haven't quite finished the second season yet.
He is one of my most favorite Marvel characters ever.
Really?
Yeah. So he is in the comics. He is Professor Xavier's son.
That makes a lot of sense. That's not even kind of talked about in the show.
Nah, not yet. It might be. Who knows? I hope I didn't spoil it for you. It's only in the comics like 30 years ago. But they did a book called X-Men Legacy, which was the focus of him, and there was a lot of the, I take that back. There were some things I did like about the second season. I like the mind trips where he was traveling through, it seemed like other people's brains or something.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They did that a lot in the comic. That comic Legacy was really weird, like the show. And I should like it more because I loved it in the comic books, but it's, for some reason, to me, it just didn't translate well onto the screen.
Gotcha.
But that could just be me.
Yeah, I had never read those comics.
And that's me being one of those comic book snobs who's like, they ruined this character.
Right.
After I just said I think that's bullshit that people do that.
I don't know, the series is a little hard to follow sometimes, but I dig it, though. That's kind of what I like about it. It kind of jumps all over, but I do kind of like it. It's a little easier to follow, I think, here in the second season, but I could be loosely remembering the first. What about these other ones like The Gifted or Runaways?
Runaways is another one that was a big favorite of mine on in the on paper,
Yeah.
and I think they've done a pretty good job with that show. It's different enough to make it interesting.
Right.
Different enough from the book to make it still interesting, but still kind of true to the book. Which
Yeah.
I think that's all you really need.
Sure.
You know, Brian K. Vaughan wrote that book, and Joss Whedon finished it up, I think,
Oh, really?
in the comics.
Does Whedon write some storylines in the books?
Yeah, he wrote 6 issues of that. He's written. Yeah, he writes comic books.
Yeah, right on.
But Brian K. Vaughan started it off, and that guy's brilliant. He did a great series called Why the Last Man.
Oh, right.
And Y, like the letter Y, like the chromosome or whatever.
Gotcha. Why the Last Man?
And he, so something happened, and like all the dudes are dead except this one guy.
Huh. Interesting.
And then there's like the women just go tribal, and it's pretty interesting. And then you have like these groups that like keep a nice little town together and everything's kind of normal. And then like there's these other groups that are just wild. And there's one group that's like, oh, we need to, if we find a man, like it was a sign that we need to be here. But then there's other groups that are like, let's make some people, and they try to rape him, and I don't know.
Interesting. Well, as played out as post-apocalyptic things can be, I still enjoy a good take on post-apocalyptic storylines, you know?
Yeah, and that one's, I mean, they've been telling those stories for a long, long time, but that book has been, the last volume of that came out 15 years ago, maybe.
On Vertigo, I see.
Yes. Yep.
It's super cool. I tried to get into the series The Gifted, but I couldn't. It's just so, I don't know, lame, I guess. I don't know.
It is lame, but I have been keeping up with it, and it got better. I thought, but it's still not that great.
Well, I mean, I was kind of bored through season 1, and I got into it just as season 2 has started. And I was a couple episodes into that, and I was like, I just can't. I stopped. I was like, I'm just not into it.
Yeah, Daddy develops a power.
Oh, yeah?
That adds a dynamic to it, and then I don't know, it seems to be more of a traditional comic book type story too.
Right on.
And it's okay. It's okay. I don't know. Not my favorite. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of other television shows I used to watch, just like any of the Arrowverse stuff. I quit watching that a couple of years ago.
I did too. If I'm bored and they hit Netflix, I might catch up on them. I'm probably a season behind all of them.
Now that's a show that's kind of tried to jam diversity in just for the sake of diversity.
Arrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they, especially in the Supergirl, and they have like all these anti-gun stories, and then they like spent a whole episode of Supergirl talking about like the gay lesbian relationship.
All right.
And it's like it never amounted to anything. Like it didn't have a purpose except that they're like, oh, look we talk about gays on our show. I just don't. It just wasn't natural. It didn't, you know what I mean? It felt like they shoehorned it in so they could be like, look, we have gays in our show.
Right.
You know, and then they're gonna do they're doing the same thing with DC is doing the same thing in Doom Patrol. They have some transgender character.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
And they're just like, oh, look at us, we're so woke, we have a transgender superhero. It's like, okay. I hope that they just don't focus on the fact that that's not what makes heroes heroes. It's just like it's not what makes, like, that stuff isn't what makes a person like a good person or a bad person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly.
I don't know.
I never saw Inhumans, but I guess that didn't last very long.
That wasn't very good.
Just looking at the poster, I think whoever plays that one main character is the same one that plays Christopher Pike on the new Star Trek series. It's interesting. But I did kind of dig Cloak and Dagger. I didn't get to finish the first season, but they're in their second season now.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Huh. I'll have to check that out. I liked Cloak and Dagger also.
Like, it was definitely a slow burn, but it was a sort of compelling storyline. I kind of enjoyed the ride, you know?
Yeah, so they're in it makes sense that they did that on Hulu because they had quite a few run-ins with the Runaways in the book, in the Runaways book. And then I've read some Cloak and Dagger too, and I never got the origin story. Like, everything I've read was well after that, and they were solid partners by the time that I was introduced to them. You know, so it's been interesting to me because I got to see, and I don't know if that's even the comic book origin story. I have no idea. I don't care.
Well, it's there. I see what you mean, though. It's good to see the origin story.
Right, when it's characters that you're not that familiar with.
Right.
I don't need to see another, you know, even though we just talked about an origin story that I loved. But it really wasn't one that we've seen before. That was Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm a little done with Spider-Man origin story. I read a lot of the comic ones. They rebooted that in the comics a lot, too.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. Batman origin story, don't need that.
Right.
You know, I don't need the Superman origin story. Although the way they did the origin story in the
do it
in the Batman versus Superman, because they kind of went back. They did it quick though.
Right.
Same with Aquaman. That was all like a couple flashbacks. They did the same thing with the Daredevil TV show. I like the way that they did that origin. Like, you got to see it, but it's like every episode wasn't dwelling on.
Right.
It's like most people who are fans already know that stuff, and I can see Daredevil and like the heroes that people aren't familiar with, but really everybody's familiar with the Incredible Hulk, which they didn't really do they did the origin story for the Incredible Hulk on the MCU Hulk movie with Edward Norton.
Right.
That was all in the opening credits. I was like, that's how you do it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Hulk, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, it's all in the lexicon. You could, throw a dart at a non-comic fan and they may even know the origin story, you know?
Right. Yeah. Superman comes from the planet Slip-On, where they wear shoes with no laces.
That's right. That's why they died.
Right. Right, because their shoes fell off.
That's right. They tripped over themselves.
Yeah. Slip-On.
Oh, man.
And then they get killed by Toe Jam.
Well, it's unfortunate that the Netflix Marvel series have ended, but that writing was kind of on the wall. It was not in the first season. The first few seasons, I think they were crushing it. And I love that they came together for the Defenders. I would have liked to see them go out with the Defenders movie, too, actually. That would have been fun. But some of these other shows are hit and miss. But the MCU on the big screen, I'm super curious to see where they're going to go. They're not going to stop. I mean, they're just raking it in. And quite honestly, nailing a lot of these movies. But
Well, I mean, think about that. Like Marvel paid or Disney paid $4 billion for Marvel,
Right.
and they make that every 2 years in their movies.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
each movie is bringing in $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's just insane. And then you think about DVD sales and stuff after that. You're talking 750 to $1.5 billion box office for every one. And then like just over the course of time, like the people like bought the box sets, buy it on digital.
Yeah. It's enough to save up and buy Fox.
Right. Well,
Which means they got X-Men back, right? Wasn't that a Fox property?
Yes, they get X-Men back. They get the Fantastic Four back.
I'm not so sure we need another one of those, but we'll probably
we just need one that's done properly.
Right. Well, fair enough.
The Fantastic Four are fantastic, and they're a great team.
Well, they're kind of some of the originals, really.
They are the launch of the Marvel universe. The 616 universe in Marvel is the Fantastic Four. Like, they were the first.
So that'll be fun. How did Venom do in the box office? Because I really like how it ended, and I'm kind of excited for a sequel.
I think it did well enough that they'll do a sequel. Fans hated that movie. I
liked it.
I really enjoyed watching it. I thought it was a fun ride.
So did I. I thought it was great.
I thought
my wife and I watched together. She liked it too.
I thought that I thought it was weird that the symbiote was the comic relief and not Eddie Brock.
Right.
And that kind of bugged me, but it also didn't. I don't know. Wyatt's favorite part was when that chick bites the dude's head off.
Yeah. That was pretty great. And then her lament of it afterwards, like, did I just bite that guy's head off? But the end, though, see, I don't know. It's a bit of a spoiler. Can I go ahead and spoil it?
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to watch this anyway, so.
Well, Woody at the very end, hinting towards being Carnage. I think that's going to be fantastic. That's when I bowed out of the comics, because I was into Spider-Man and Venom in the comics back in the 90s. And I kind of stopped when Carnage was introduced, And I never went back, and that's one of the reasons I want to do Marvel Unlimited, catch up on all the other Spider-Man 2099s, because there's like 2 series after the first one that I read, all the Venom and Carnage stuff later. There's just a ton of old stuff I wanted to go back and touch upon.
I like the last Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah?
Yeah, they did it, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It was pretty good.
It was a fun series when it started. Like, I really enjoyed it. There was a Hulk 2099 that was really good. There's a few of them. I thought it was a fun. Looking here being 2019, that's 80 years in the future. I think even some of that shit's still a bit off. We're still not going to have flying cars in 80 years.
They're just not practical.
They're just not practical. Not untrue.
Yeah, they're too impractical. They're not very energy efficient. Like, it takes a lot of power to get something off the ground.
Right.
And keep it off the ground. You're not talking about, and then to try to do that, I realize they're working on electric planes and stuff, but I don't know, the nightmares I've heard about people in the Northeast this winter with their Tesla cars, I'm a long time before I want to get on a plane that runs on batteries.
Right. I want them to keep going for it, though. I mean...
Oh, me too, but it's like, capacity reduction of up to 80% in some of the Northeast states during the winter because the lithium batteries are just like, I don't want to work in this cold.
Right. Yeah, well, it took us over 100 years to get automobiles to where they are today. It might take a little time for all electric to get to a completely reliable place,
Yeah.
But we'll keep hammering it. We'll get there.
I think that so this is one way that government help an industry like beyond. Obviously, Tesla has benefited greatly from government subsidies.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm kind of like on the fence on how I feel about that, but they really pushed other automakers, especially because they have the best-selling sedan in the country right now. And that really pushed other automakers into, like, competition is good. So even although I really think they should quit subsidizing all those cars, because they still do. But beyond the tax subsidy to the buyer, there were like Tesla got like $4 billion almost in cash from the government. So,
wow, it's pretty hefty.
Right, and if they would have given that money to like Elio Motors or something, which is now basically being written off as a scam, like the guy was just trying to get money from people, which I don't think is true. I just think the whole thing was mismanaged, and the guy had higher hopes than were possible. Do you know what the Elio was?
It does sound familiar.
So it was a 3-wheel car. Had a 3-cylinder engine, got like 87 miles to the gallon or something.
Yeah, I remember.
Like they can do that. Like they could do commuter cars. Like that's possible. And the problem is it needs to be a company like Ford or GM or Toyota to do it, because this guy's starting from scratch, and dude, it costs a lot of money to make a car.
Well, it's one of those things where you would hopefully see, like in the tech industry, you get a great nugget of an idea and you start building a product that gets picked up by a larger company and further developed with better resources. You kind of hope something like this would have been a similar story. It's a great idea, started up from nothing, and that a bigger company could swallow up and make whole,
Right.
So that'd been fun to see. It looks like a great ride.
They had one of these here's a picture of it. But they had one of these at a college like they were showing it off at some college in Rochester, and I went to see it and got to sit in it and stuff. And it wasn't bad. It was comfortable seating. It's a 2-seater front and back, so 1 seat in the front, 1 seat in the back.
Yeah.
The back seat folds down, so it has some luggage space or whatever. They had some crazy idea with to where you buy it on a credit card, and the way it worked was you would go every time, and I don't know how they would work this out, but like if you went to the gas station, they doubled. So you'd use this card at the gas station, and they would double whatever you put into the tank, and that would be your car payment.
Huh.
So if you spent 20 at the pump, you'd get charged 40, but the other 20 went to your car payment. And that's how you were going to pay for the car. Like, they had all kinds of crazy ideas all the way around.
Yeah, that's kind of novel.
So they had this $74.50 base price, but if you like deck it out, it's about $14.
Still pretty not unreasonable.
No, I don't know, a 2-seater though. I mean, I paid that I paid $16, I think, for my car, and okay, it doesn't get 80 miles to the gallon, but it gets 40.
That's still pretty solid with today's market.
And
84 is incredible, though, and I think kind of totally worth 14. I mean, I look at the car that I'm driving. It's usually just me back and forth to work. Whenever we take the family somewhere, we have another car for that,
Yep.
But
All right, we spent a whole hour and we haven't talked about anything.
Sure we did. We talked about comics and MCU and Marvel on screen. That's something.
All right. Well, folks, maybe we'll talk to you next week. That'd be groovy.
Super groovy.
You can follow me at Johnny Redbeard on Twitter.
I'm at Legatus.
And I don't know why you'd follow me. I haven't written a tweet in like forever. But, you know, go to shop.blathercast.com and buy some stuff.
Peace.